Hello everyone, my name is Clemens Jütte and I'm a platform architect at Humanitec. And today I'm going to talk about RBAC and governance in the Humanitec product suite. The art of letting your teams go faster without breaking things. Don't make security an afterthought, put it in front and center. So to show you around, I'm going to go directly into our main product, the Humanitec Platform Orchestrator, and into my demo organization clear code. You see, there is not much deployed here, just one application, but this is not what we want to look at. We want to first have a look at RBAC. So role-based access control. In Humanitec, we have three levels of role-based access control. First of all, starting on the organization level. So my organization clear code has organization members. Not so many right at the moment. That's just me and our CTO, Chris Stevenson. And we are both administrators. But we could also be managers or members. And depending on our role, we can either execute destructive actions or not. We can invite people or not, or we can see things or not. So first level. Then on the application screen, well, your level of access depends, or on your level of access, it depends what applications you can actually see. Either you're an administrator, which is able to see all of them, or you're not, which means that inside of the application, as second level, you need to be a member of that application. So I could add somebody here, like Chris, and make him an owner, a developer, or viewer. Once again, I can either just see things, perfect role for somebody who is possibly a product manager or an auditor. I could be a developer, so I could execute deployments, for example, or I could be an owner. Then I could also invite more people and could execute destructive actions. And as if that was not enough, if I look at all of the environments that my application has, currently I only have one, a development environment of type development. Oops. And if I go over here into the environment types, I can see that for all of my environment types, I can also specify who is able to deploy into them. All right, so for GCP, for example, I, Chris, and also our default service user are able to deploy. For development, well, that's just me, which means that this development environment can only be deployed by me, not by Chris. Okay, so to recap that quickly, three levels of RBAC control. First on the organization level, then on the application level, and last but not least, a little bit cross-cutting on the environment type level. So what next? Let's have a look at the resource management. Well, in there, platform engineers teach the orchestrator how to respond to the ask of developers for anything they need. I do in here already have a few resources defined, which are not from the default, but I would like to have one more to show you how resources are actually being put in here and at least one way on how to configure them as in code. So I'm going to use this resource definition YAML file, which is going to teach the orchestrator using Terraform to deploy an S3 bucket. So what we're looking out for with the ID Terraform S3 is the new resource definition. And I can quickly and efficiently apply this resource definition to the orchestrator with our CLI tool, humctl, named in memoriam of kubectl, and basically in the same way as I would apply a manifest to a Kubernetes cluster. Having done that, I can go back here, refresh, and see my new resource definition. This resource definition from the configuration you have seen calls out to a Terraform module. And inside of this Terraform module, I can obviously specify in a very fine-grained and detailed way how this resource should actually work. For example, how the protection is set up. Yeah, is this publicly accessible or not? And so on and so forth. But as this is a template, which is now usable for every developer who wants to call out and acquire a Terraform S3 bucket, obviously this defines in a very clear level how my security stance is and how I govern these kind of resources because they're coming from this central template. Well, this is nice, but now imagine you could also go ahead and poke a little bit on what the developers are actually producing and from the sideline either check or even enhance the security posture or the governance posture. So the orchestrator allows you to actually do this using the matching system and resource definitions. So let's see how we can do that. And I have prepared something for this. And this is my label thing here, which is once again a resource definition. So I can just apply it in the same way to the orchestrator like I have done last. And go over here and have a look at my label thing and have a look at the matching criteria. So currently it says all conditions match all values. So it would match to every workload that is being deployed onto this tenant. Obviously, I could add new criteria which are much more specific. I could, for example, match on the environment type. I could choose here, for example, all development systems or all staging systems. I could be much more specific once again by going to a specific environment that has an ID like development. I could go to a specific application like my whale application, or I could go to a specific resource, which doesn't work because currently I don't have any resources deployed. Or I would see a resource here. So I can match very granular to things which are present right now in the object model of the orchestrator. Or I can match very coarsely. So what can I do? Let me quickly put that out a little bit nicer formatted. So as you can see, this is once again YAML up to basically this point. And here, a specification called JSON patch is being utilized, and an update is being made. The add operation is being called, and we're looking into the spec of the workloads manifest. And we're adding labels, and in this case, we're adding Datadog tags. And we're not only adding those labels, we are also putting values in there which are being dynamically inferred from the context of the application that we are modifying. So we are basically utilizing the same methodology as in meta programming to match to certain or all of the applications we are deploying in the side of this tenant, and we are modifying how they are being brought out onto the systems. In this case, as I said, we are attaching observability as a cross-cutting concern to those workloads, but we could do all kinds of things. We could, for example, also inject sidecars, which have a much more security-related reason than observability, like an AI-based network intrusion detection system or the likes. So something that developers most probably do not get right configuration-wise, and because of that The security stance is hampered, but as the things are injected from the sideline and are governed by the platform engineers who have much more knowledge about the actual infrastructure domain, most probably this is working much better. Okay, so let's have a look at the next topic. What I now want to show you is something we call workload profiles. Every workload, I'm going into my deployment here to show you my whale-say workload, which is basically a service that is running inside of this application. All of these do actually have a workload profile. So workload is based on default module workload profile. There are a few more which have more descriptive names than default module, which is literally the default. But nevertheless, what are they? Those workload profiles, you can think of them like empty Helm charts that you can fill with life. And in the same way that Helm charts, if they are base Helm charts, um, can actually determine how something that you have as input is translated into a Kubernetes manifest. And this is exactly the role that they are taking over here. So they give you the opportunity to define the structure of how what the developer is putting into the system is being translated into objects in the Kubernetes system. And it also gives you the opportunity to once again inject things from the sidelines or add sensible defaults. Also define what things developers can actually modify as part of the system or where they can just look and not touch or not even see. So all of that is possible, and it once again allows you to standardize a different part of your software development practice. And as always, standardization can be modified from different cross-cutting concerns inside of your organizational structure, and by that add the concerns of, for example, the security department, the governance department, or even the legal department. And by that, give you a very different posture over all of these concerns. So, well, I have now secured quite a lot. So what is next? If I look at my Whale application, I currently only have a development environment. And I'm now not going to create much more new environments, although I could by just pushing this button. But what I want to show you is something else. I want to show you a feature called pipelines. And this feature is, is living here. And if I click here, then I see currently there's a default deployment pipeline and there's a manual deployment pipeline. And I'm going to trigger the manual deployment pipeline by going ahead and making a change in here. And I actually do not need to make a real change. I just need to create this new draft version. And then I can already review and deploy this with no changes at all. I can give it a nice comment here just for fun. Redeploy and click on deploy. And what now happens is that my manual deployment pipeline is being executed. Well, being executed. Wait a moment, it says here, approval request created. You can approve or deny it using this endpoint. Or I could actually up here click on review approvals because this pipeline actually concludes or starts with a manual approval step. So every time I want to execute something manually here, not automated through the CI system, I actually need to approve that I really wanted to do this. Okay, so I would say this is a very good idea, so I'm going to confirm this. As I am an administrator, I can literally just approve this and it's being executed. If I was not an administrator, it is actually depending on the configuration of the pipeline if I would be able to approve it or not. Okay, so you have seen that this has now come through and my Whale application is happily running in this new version. So what else can I do with pipelines apart from creating manual approval workflows, which are actually in a synchronous fashion breaking the flow of the pipeline? I can do more things synchronously, but I could also do things asynchronously. So let's start with more things synchronously. I could, for example, call out to an automated test system and let it run a test suite and only continue if the test suite reports everything is green. I could also run the test suite after the deployment and actually determine if the system is in a healthy state or not, and then okay the deployment or even fail it and roll back in the event that the test suite doesn't succeed. In an asynchronous fashion, I could, for example, inform other systems like Slack. I could shout out to the development team with a Slack message that something has been successfully deployed or something has failed and they need to take action. Or I could, and that is from my perspective, from the architectural perspective, the much more interesting choice, I could inform other systems. And obviously not only in the event of deployment, but also on other events, I can inform other systems. And by that, in near real time, because the orchestrator knows about your whole estate, what is running where, in which version, and in which health state. In near real time, I can update other systems with exactly this state. And by that, obviously enable other systems to have a much clearer view of the actual runtime estate. And by that, improve, obviously, my governance and my security posture once again. So, what else? Mm, we could possibly have a look at an application which is probably having a little bit more deployments than mine, because the next thing I want to show you is probably only working if I have more deployments. So let's quickly hop over to this sample application inside of our Humanitec demo organization, which literally has a lot of deployments inside of its demo environment. And what I wanted to show you is that I can, in here, actually view every deployment, and not only view it, but also view it in depth, because every deployment is as a discrete complete set, locked, and by that obviously persisted and being available for audits. But I can at any time also go ahead and diff things. So I can see that between this and the last deployment before it, there were some values changed in the CPU limits, and the DB name was changed or added in this case. Or I could take a look much more way back in time, let's say until 2001 here, and then I can see what exactly is the list of material changes between the currently running version and the version that existed in 2001. All brought up nicely here, so I can have a good look. And if I wanted to know more about concrete deployment, I could export the manifest and take a look here at literally everything the orchestrator has generated as part of this deployment. Only one thing that I can't see in here, and that is the secrets. So speaking of secrets, there's a point here as well, which says secrets and value overrides. I can specify here shared values on an application level, which means that they can be shared between all of the workloads. And as you can see, here is an example key or key named example with a value named value. There's a reason why this thing is called sample app. And now I can actually go ahead and have a look at a concrete. Oh, wait, let me see. Up here, I can actually see the application wide values, right? And now I can go to the environments and I can, for example, go to the staging environment, have a look at the secret and value overrides here. And I can see that this variable has no overrides, but I could actually edit it here and say, hey, for staging, it has the value staging. Save that here. Now it has an override. So I have the opportunity to work with application configuration inside of the orchestrator, which allows me to remove this concern from incoming artifacts, which are being handled by developers. And by that, obviously reduce the margin for error because there is strict validation and checking inside of here, which is much better than just having plain text files, possibly even. And also when I think about secrets, well, if you remember me trying to show you something a little bit back, when I actually added this here to the orchestrator, well, this resource definition had one of the worst patterns ever inside of here because I have an access key and a secret key clearly in plain text in this file. But as soon as I applied it to the orchestrator recognized that and immediately replaced those, because they are secrets, with references. So nobody, which is not the application in its runtime after the deployment, will be able to uncover these values in plain text ever again. They are securely sealed away. And obviously, you can also go ahead and link that up with your personal secret management solution that you're running inside of your enterprise. And to come once again back full circle to the beginning when I was talking about RBAC, you remember that there were user principles inside of there hidden, not really hidden, they are in there. And obviously, as soon as user principles enter the system, obviously you want to hook that up to your enterprise identity management, and you can simply do so by enabling XAML 2.0 based login into our product suite. Okay, this concludes our whirlwind tour of the RBAC and governance topic inside of the product suite of Humanitec, which was by no means complete, neither in breadth or in depth. But obviously, you could now go ahead and book, for example, your own private demo session with one of our platform architects and have a lively discussion about the topic and how you could evolve your own software development practice by these feature sets. And or you could go ahead and take a look at different features which are also part of our product suite. Well, I hope you had some fun. I had some fun walking you through all of that. And now I wish you a good day. Thank you for considering Humanitec.